Is India a rich or poor country? If you know that on August 23, 2023, India officially became one of the 5 nations to land on the moon, then you probably understand that this is not a poor country. Moreover, Google CEO Sundar Pichai is of Indian origin, and many talents in the information technology industry were born, raised, and built their careers in India. No one dares to underestimate the potential of this nation. Back in the 2000s, the country had only 9 billionaires, but now this number has risen to 119. However, that's just one side of the story. If you pay a little attention to this South Asian country, you'll also see countless images of poverty, backwardness, and superstitious traditions. So why is there such a stark contrast in Indian society, and what consequences might it lead to? Let's explore these questions in today's video. In 2008, the movie Slumdog Millionaire was released. The film's content is quite unique and intriguing as it is set primarily in the slums of India. The main character, Jamal Malik, loses his mother in a religious riot and is forced to wander through garbage-filled places to survive. A twist of fate leads Jamal to the Indian version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. This boy from a poor background suddenly becomes famous for answering all the questions correctly, making it to the final question worth 20 million rupees, equivalent to $400,000. Before this final challenge, the program announces the session has ended and will continue the following week. Afterward, Jamal is accused of cheating by the show's organizers, who report him to the police. While being interrogated with force, Jamal confesses that all his knowledge comes from his life experiences in the slums, including narrowly escaping death multiple times. The movie paints a vivid picture of the hidden corners of Indian society, rife with injustice. Thanks to its deeply humane portrayal, Slumdog Millionaire won the Oscar for Best Picture in 2008. Through the film, we come to realize that wealth disparity can exist everywhere, but it is particularly severe in India. In 2022, the country officially became the 5th largest economy in the world, with a GDP surpassing major powers like the UK, France, Italy, and Russia. Additionally, India's total foreign direct investment, FDI, has consistently broken global records for 8 consecutive years. The country has also achieved significant advancements in information technology and aerospace, garnering admiration from nations worldwide. Despite being among the top 5 strongest economies by GDP, India's enormous population, 1.3 billion people, means its GDP per capita is only around $2,100. This figure is quite low, ranking India approximately 120th globally in terms of GDP per capita. However, this is merely an average. In reality, the immense wealth disparity results in many Indians earning less than $500 a year. Between 2018 and 2022, India produced 70 millionaires daily. Yet, nearly 800 million citizens still rely on the government's food subsidy program. For them, simply having enough to eat each day is a dream, let alone anything more luxurious. Even in the capital city of New Delhi, the wealth divide is starkly evident. A reality television program visited the family of a 32-year-old woman named Nazfran Cotton, who lives with her 2 children in a slum in New Delhi. She admitted that her family constantly struggles with hunger. Each night before bed, they never know if there will be anything to eat the next day. During an interview, she broke down in tears, explaining that her children cry out of hunger daily, and she herself does not know how long she can continue to survive. But this is not the most tragic situation. A 5-year-old girl named Sonia Kumari in the state of Uttar Pradesh died after 15 days of near starvation. Her family had been begging for over 2 weeks, but could only receive a few biscuits from neighbors who also had little to spare. This is just one of hundreds of cases of children dying from malnutrition in India every year. As a result, 800 million Indians depend on the government's food security program. However, this program is chronically underfunded. Researchers estimate an additional 100 million Indians need food subsidies to survive, but are not included in the program. Families like Nazfran's are among those left out. While the government announced plans to add 10 million more people to the list, Nazfran hoped to be among the lucky ones, but was ultimately excluded. A paradox arises as India is consistently ranked among the countries with the highest levels of hunger globally, ranking 107th out of 121 in 2022. The data is based on statistics regarding malnourished and stunted children. In fact, 1/3 of Indian children suffer from malnutrition, with many severely underweight for their height. Unsurprisingly, these conditions pose serious risks to their lives. And in such poverty, the shelter for the majority of the poor in India is the slums. In major cities like Mumbai and New Delhi, beside skyscrapers and shopping malls, lie images of ramshackle, filthy housing areas. In these places, people live alongside rats and cockroaches, with a population density reaching up to 1 million people per square kilometer, 20 times higher than in major cities like Paris or London. The electricity grid here is unstable, and water is available for only 2 hours a day. There is no sewage system, so waste is directly discharged into canals. Yet, it is these very slums that sustain millions of people. These areas are the foundation of numerous small businesses involved in collecting scrap, repairing and recycling broken items, or even sewing discarded materials into work clothes. Here, people toil every day just to earn $1 to $3. However, work isn't always available due to the overwhelming population and intense competition. Yet, this is still considered fortunate. Those who lack physical strength can't even compete for these meager wages. As a result, they fall into chronic hunger, and when hunger sets in, there's no strength left to work, a vicious cycle. Hoping for government aid is a luxury, and in reality, it's another race. Hundreds of millions of Indians lack the strength to compete for a spot on the aid list, and are nearly surviving on thin air. It's an absurd paradox that India stands as one of the world's powerful nations, with economic and military strength consistently ranking among the top. This is also home to over 100 ultra-wealthy billionaires, such as Mukesh Ambani and Gautam Adani, whose assets approach hundreds of billions of dollars. In fact, the top 10% of the country's elite controls 77% of the nation's total wealth. The combined wealth of Indian billionaires surpasses the entire national budget accumulated over hundreds of years. In 2014, a real estate tycoon in the country ordered 60 Rolex watches, each worth tens of thousands of dollars, as wedding invitations for his daughter. Yet, this seems modest compared to billionaire Mukesh Ambani. The richest man in Asia owns a 27-story mansion valued at $2 billion. This property occupies 37,000 square meters in southern Mumbai, one of the world's most expensive areas, making it the second most valuable residence in the world, just after Buckingham Palace of the British royal family. This mansion serves only Mukesh Ambani, his wife, and their 3 children. The family mainly lives on the top floors, as they primarily travel by helicopter. The house has 3 helipads for convenience, one floor designed as a 50-seat cinema, while other floors host a beauty salon, an ice cream parlor, a gym, a spa, and even a snow room to escape the sweltering heat. It is reported that Mukesh employs up to 600 staff members to operate this mansion. Mukesh Ambani is the chairman of Reliance Industries, a conglomerate operating across multiple sectors, including oil and gas, telecommunications, and retail. He is the richest man in Asia and ranks among the top 10 richest people globally, with a fortune of $105 billion. Ranking above Mukesh Ambani on the global billionaire list is his fellow countryman, Gautam Adani. In 2022, Adani was the 3rd richest person in the world, with a fortune of $144.5 billion. Although Adani's residence is not as massive as Ambani's, spanning only 2,300 square meters with 7 bedrooms, 6 living rooms, and a dining room, he indulges in other luxuries. Adani owns 3 private jets, each worth about $10 million, and a fleet of luxury cars, including Rolls-Royce, Land Rover, Ferrari, and BMW. For many of India's hundreds of millions of poor people, securing a job serving these billionaire families might seem like a wild dream. So, what causes such extreme inequality? Despite being funded by many wealthy individuals, India's aid programs frequently suffer from underfunding. The primary reason is the corruption entrenched in various levels of government. The poorest people, who should be the highest priority, end up receiving the least. Government officials embezzle and siphon off aid funds, leaving those at the bottom of society with no opportunities left. Tax injustice is another cause. Ironically, the poor often bear a higher tax percentage than the wealthy. While corporate taxes are being reduced, taxes for the poor continue to rise. For example, a person living in a slum pays the same 12% tax on a packet of noodles as a millionaire. Religious, gender, and caste discrimination further deepen the gap between rich and poor. Those born into lower social classes are often permanently labeled as such, no matter how hard they try to climb up. This makes finding employment and accessing aid nearly impossible, and this discrimination haunts them for life. Additionally, women in India face severe inequality. After marriage, they lose the right to own property, make personal investments, or even shop independently. All decisions depend on their husbands. In cases of divorce, women often leave with nothing and are pushed into poverty without any source of income. Poverty often leads to social issues. Theft and petty crime rates in Indian slums are on the rise. Furthermore, India has one of the highest rates of sexual abuse against women globally. Heartbreaking incidents of brutal sexual assaults frequently make headlines, with many victims losing their lives. Shockingly, the perpetrators often face little to no consequences. Taxing the wealthy more heavily might seem like a viable solution for the government to address poverty. However, unless the deeply rooted corruption in India's political system is addressed, such tax revenues will fail to create any meaningful change.